For the first time in nearly 4 decades, a Federal Reserve chairman is taking the oath of office inside the White House. Kevin Warsh secured this nomination by signaling he would support the president's agenda, keeping interest rates low to offset the impact of new trade tariffs. Markets are reacting with immediate alarm. Investors fear the executive branch is successfully turning the U.S. central bank into a political tool. There is a historical blueprint for this. In the early 1970s, Richard Nixon successfully pressured his Fed chair, Arthur Burns, to keep rates low to help his re-election. That pressure worked, but it came with a cost. The U.S. spent the next decade struggling with the effects of stagflation, a scenario economists fear could repeat if the Fed loses its independence today. Understanding whether that outcome is likely requires moving away from political rhetoric and into the institutional design of the central bank itself. While the president appoints the chair, the Federal Reserve was engineered to resist outside influence. The internal mechanics of the bank suggest that a political takeover faces significant structural hurdles. The chair of the Federal Reserve holds the most visible role in global finance, but the position is not a dictatorship. Decisions are made by the Board of Governors, where Kevin Warsh holds exactly 1 vote out of 7. For setting interest rates, the committee expands to include 5 regional branch presidents. Any move to cut rates requires a majority of 12 distinct voters. Jerome Powell introduces a new hurdle. Instead of leaving after his term as chair ends, he is staying on as a regular governor until 2028. Most sitting governors were appointed by the previous administration and will serve out their full terms, leaving the White House with almost no vacant seats to fill. This institutional math creates a firewall. A majority aligned with the president's specific political goals is likely years away from being a reality. Warsh's own economic philosophy further complicates the White House's plans. His calls for regime change refer to a technical shift in operations rather than a political purge of the staff. His primary goal is ending forward guidance, stopping the practice of telling markets what the Fed plans to do months in advance. He also favors rapidly shrinking the Fed's $7 trillion balance sheet, selling off bond holdings to actively withdraw liquidity from the economy. Warsh has been vocal that the Fed is not a repair shop for the government. He argues the bank should not step in to fix poor fiscal or trade policy. If the president's tariffs lead to higher prices, Warsh's ideology suggests the Fed should let the market adjust rather than cutting rates. The president expects a political hammer to force interest rates down on command. But his new chair intends to reduce the bank's influence, leaving it to the market to determine the cost of borrowing. The mathematical guardrails of the Federal Reserve remain insulated from executive control. The actual lever used to print money is out of the president's reach. But Warsh is surviving the president's political pressure by adopting his rhetoric. He has spent the last year attacking the bank he now leads and calling its current methods completely broken. This creates a new and volatile dynamic. The commander-in-chief and sitting Fed chair are now both publicly criticizing the central bank's core functions. Even if the actual interest rate decisions don't change, this constant criticism from the top politicizes the Fed in the eyes of global investors. Warsh's term may not result in radical monetary policy, but his public attacks risk eroding the institution's standing. In the world of global finance, credibility is the only currency that actually matters.